My father was the best surgeon I've ever known. Not just saying that because he's my dad. I work in hospital administration, seen hundreds of surgeons. My father was different, special. 35 years as a cardiothoracic surgeon. Saved thousands of lives, literally thousands. Patients would request him specifically. Other surgeons consulted him on difficult cases. He was supposed to be department head. Should have been a formality, a recognition of everything he'd built. Instead, hospital promoted someone with 8 years' experience. Someone who wasn't ready. And 3 weeks later, a patient died on the operating table. A death that didn't have to happen. Let me tell you about it. I'm 36, work as an administrator at Mercy General in Atlanta. It's a big hospital, 600 beds, level 1 trauma center. My job is credentialing and compliance. Make sure doctors are qualified, licensed, meet standards. Been here 8 years, work my way up. My father, Dr. Richard Carson, he's been here since 1990. Started as a resident, became an attending, then chief of cardiothoracic surgery. He's 62 now, at the peak of his career. His surgical outcomes are exceptional. Mortality rate below 1% for procedures with 5% national average. That's not luck, that's skill and experience. He's published in medical journals, speaks at conferences, trains the next generation of cardiac surgeons. Everyone at the hospital respects him. Patients love him, families trust him. He's not perfect, he's human. But in the OR, he's as close to perfect as it gets. 2 years ago, Dr. Morrison retires. He was department head of cardiovascular surgery, oversaw all cardiac procedures, managed the surgical team. Administrative role, but still clinical. Makes decisions about protocols, staffing, equipment. Critical position in a major hospital. Everyone assumes my father will get promoted. He's the obvious choice, the natural successor. Chief of cardiothoracic for 12 years. Most experienced, most qualified, most respected. Hospital forms a search committee in March. Standard process, interview candidates, make recommendation. My father applies, of course. So do 3 other surgeons. 2 from our hospital, 1 external candidate. I'm not on the committee, but I see the applications. Part of my job, verify credentials. My father's CV is 40 pages. Hundreds of successful surgeries, dozens of publications. Letters of recommendation from everyone who matters. The external candidate is Dr. Maya Foster. She's 41, cardiothoracic surgeon from a hospital in Boston. 8 years post-residency experience. Decent record, nothing exceptional. A few publications, standard surgical outcomes. Not bad, just not extraordinary. Looking at the applications objectively, my father is clearly the most qualified. Decades more experience, better outcomes, stronger leadership record. April, interviews happen. I'm not in the room, but I hear things. Hospital, hallways, people talk. My father's interview goes well. Everyone says so. Talks about his vision for the department. Improving outcomes, mentoring young surgeons, expanding services. Dr. Foster's interview is fine, nothing memorable. She emphasizes fresh perspective and new approaches. Says the department needs modern leadership, whatever that means. May, search committee meets to decide. I'm expecting the announcement any day. Then I get called to a meeting. Hospital's chief medical officer, Dr. Patricia Hughes, she's 58. And the VP of Human Resources, woman named Sandra Klein, 52. They want to talk about the department head search. We need your input on the candidate's credentials. I'll walk them through what I've verified. All candidates are properly licensed, board certified. My father has the most experience by far. Dr. Foster meets minimum requirements, but has less experience. Sandra asks, from a compliance perspective, are all candidates qualified? Technically, yes. All meet minimum standards, but experience levels vary significantly. Dr. Hughes, so there's no compliance issue with any candidate? Me? No. But there are practical differences in qualifications. Sandra, we're not asking about practical differences, just whether everyone meets requirements. I see where this is going. They're building a case to hire whoever they want. As long as minimum standards are met, they can justify it. Week later, announcement comes out. Dr. Maya Foster selected as new department head, effective July 1st. I'm stunned, everyone's stunned. My father was passed over. They hired someone from outside with a fraction of his experience. I go to my father's office after work. He's sitting there, looking at the email. Not angry, just tired. I don't understand, he says. I've given 35 years to this hospital. Trained half the surgeons here. Thought I'd earned this. I don't know what to say. Ask him. Did they give you a reason? Dad. Committee said they wanted new leadership. Someone to bring fresh ideas. Me. That's not a real reason. Dad. It's the reason they're giving. We sit there in silence. I'm angry, he's hurt. This isn't right, and we both know it. But what can we do? Hospital made their decision. I start asking around quietly, trying to understand what happened. Talk to a friend who works in HR. She tells me off the record. There was pressure from administration. Hospital's been criticized for lack of diversity in leadership. Board wanted more women in senior positions. Me? So they hired her because she's a woman? Friend. They hired her because she's qualified and a woman. Committee was told to prioritize diversity. Me? My father is the most qualified. Friend. Your father is also a 62-year-old white man. Hospital's trying to change that image. This makes me furious. Not at Dr. Foster personally. She didn't do anything wrong by applying. But at the hospital for making this about demographics. Not about who's best for patients. I want to say something, file a complaint, raise hell. But I also need my job. And fighting this would end my career here. So I stay quiet like everyone else. And my father goes back to work. Still chief of cardiothoracic. Still an excellent surgeon. But passed over, demoralized. June, Dr. Foster arrives. Hospital throws a welcome reception. Big deal, press release, photo ops. Mercy General welcomes first female department head of cardiovascular surgery. Lots of talk about breaking barriers. Not much talk about patient outcomes or qualifications. I attend a reception, have to for work. Meet Dr. Foster. She seems nice enough. Smart, confident, talks about her vision. Want to modernize protocols, improve efficiency. I'm polite, but internally skeptical. She's walking into a department my father built, with surgeons he trained, systems he created, and she's going to modernize it? July, Dr. Foster officially starts. First few weeks, she's observing, sitting in on surgeries, reviewing protocols, meeting staff. My father is professional, helps her get oriented, shows her how the department runs. Despite being passed over, he's not petty. That's who he is, puts patients first. Mid-July, Dr. Foster starts making changes. Wants to alter surgical protocols. Some of them fine, some questionable. She proposes reducing pre-op evaluation time. We can be more efficient, see more patients. My father pushes back in department meetings. Those evaluations catch complications before surgery. Skipping steps increases risk. Dr. Foster, I understand your concern, but we need to balance thoroughness with efficiency. My father, in cardiac surgery, thoroughness saves lives. Dr. Foster overrules him. I'm department head. We're implementing the new protocol. Other surgeons are uncomfortable, but stay quiet. Nobody wants to challenge the new boss. August, Dr. Foster schedules her first operation as department head. Complex aortic valve replacement. Patient is Robert Matthews, 58 years old. Father of 3, otherwise healthy. Valve deteriorated, needs replacement. Routine procedure for experienced cardiac surgeons. My father's done hundreds of these. But Dr. Foster is doing this one. She's qualified on paper, board certified. Done valve replacements before. Just not as many, not as complex cases. Day before surgery, I see my father in the hallway. Ask how he's doing. Dad, concerned about tomorrow's case. Me, why? Dad, it's more complex than Dr. Foster realizes. Patient has calcification around the valve. Requires careful dissection, easy to cause bleeding. Me? Did you talk to her about it? Dad. Offered to assist. She declined. Said she wants to establish her capability. Me? Can you insist? Dad. I'm not department head anymore. Can't overrule her decisions. I see the frustration in his face. Knows something could go wrong. Can't do anything about it. August 15th, surgery day. Robert Matthews checks in at 6 a.m. Family's there, wife and 3 kids. Nervous, but hopeful. This surgery has 95% success rate at our hospital. Dr. Foster's team includes an anesthesiologist, 2 surgical nurses, resident. Standard team for this procedure. Surgery scheduled for 8 a.m. I'm not in the OR, obviously. Working in my office on the 3rd floor. Around 10:30 a.m., I hear Code Blue announced overhead. Code Blue, operating room 3. That's the cardiac surgery suite. That's Dr. Foster's operation. My stomach drops. Code Blue means someone's dying. I can't go down there, not my place. But I'm pacing my office, checking my phone. 11 a.m., another announcement. Surgery team 2 or 3 stat. They're calling in backup. This is bad. 11:45 a.m., my father walks past my office. He's in scrubs, looks shaken. I step out. Dad, what happened? Dad, can't talk now. Keeps walking toward the OR. They called him in to help. Whatever's happening, it's serious enough they need him. I'm standing in the hallway, feeling helpless. Noon, I see the Matthews family in the surgical waiting area. They look terrified. Someone must have told them there's a complication. 1 p.m., my father comes out of the OR. Still in scrubs, blood on them. He sees me, shakes his head. Doesn't have to say it. Patient didn't make it. Robert Matthews died on the operating table. 58 years old, father of 3. Went in for a routine valve replacement. Didn't come out. I find my father in the surgeon's lounge. He's sitting with his head in his hands. What happened, Dad? She nicked the aorta during dissection. Didn't recognize the bleeding source fast enough. By the time they call me in, he lost too much blood. Me? Could you have saved him if you'd been there from the start? Dad doesn't hesitate. Yes. That calcification I warned her about. She went through it too aggressively. Caused a tear she didn't immediately identify. I would have avoided the tear entirely. Or caught it in seconds if it happened. Me. So this was preventable. Dad. Every surgical death is technically preventable. But yes, an experienced surgeon would have handled this differently. We sit there in silence. A man is dead. A family is destroyed. Because the hospital promoted someone who wasn't ready. I want to scream, punch something, do anything. But there's nothing to do. Just sit with my father while he processes. That he could have saved that patient. If only he'd been the one operating. Hospital immediately launches an investigation. Standard procedure for any or death. Peer review committee examines what happened. I'm not on that committee, but I see the preliminary reports. Dr. Foster's operative notes describe the complications. Unexpected bleeding, difficult to control. Called for backup, patient didn't survive. Makes it sound like bad luck. But my father's statement tells a different story. Describes the exact moment things went wrong. How an experienced surgeon would have anticipated the problem. How faster recognition could have saved the patient. Committee interviews everyone in the OR. Anesthesiologist, nurses, resident, my father. All confirmed Dr. Foster made a critical error. Went too fast, didn't recognize complication quickly enough. Matthews' family hires a lawyer immediately. Malpractice suit filed within 2 weeks. Hospital's legal team is scrambling. This is a PR nightmare. New female department heads, first surgery ends in death. Hospital tries to downplay it. Issues statement, tragic surgical complication. Our hearts go out to the Matthews family. Comprehensive review underway. But word gets out. Local news picks it up. Patient dies in surgery at Mercy General. Then the details emerge. Surgeon was recently promoted over more. Experienced candidate. Story starts connecting the dots. Hospital promoted less experienced surgeon for diversity. Patient died in her first operation. More experienced surgeon could have prevented it. September, peer review committee releases findings. Dr. Foster's surgical technique was within acceptable standards. Complication was foreseeable, but not necessarily preventable. No clear evidence of malpractice. I read this and can't believe it. They're protecting her, protecting the hospital. Can't admit they promoted someone who wasn't ready. would expose them to massive liability. My father is furious. Writes a dissent to the committee report. Patient's death was preventable with proper surgical judgment. Dr. Foster lacked the experience necessary for this complex case. Hospital's promotion decision prioritized optics over patient safety. His dissent is buried, not included in official findings. Hospital doesn't want it on record. October, malpractice case moves forward. Matthew's family's lawyer is digging into everything. Discovers the promotion process. My father's qualifications versus Dr. Foster's. Hospital's diversity initiative. Timeline of events. This is exactly what hospital feared. Lawyer argues hospital's negligent hiring caused death. Promoted unqualified surgeon for political reasons. Patient died as direct result. Hospital's lawyers fight back. Dr. Foster met all qualification requirements. Surgical complications happen regardless of experience. No causal link between promotion decision and outcome. But the evidence is damning. My father's 35 years versus her 8 years. His warning about the case complexity. Her refusal of his assistance. The preventable surgical error. November, hospital settles. $8 million to Matthew's family. Confidential settlement. No admission of wrongdoing. But everyone knows what it means. Hospital knows they're liable. Easier to pay than fight. Dr. Foster is quietly reassigned. Stepping down to focus on clinical work. Not fired, just demoted. Back to regular staff surgeon. My father is not promoted to replace her. Instead, hospital brings in someone from outside. Another diversity hire, but this time actually experienced. Woman with 20 years experience from Johns Hopkins. They learned their lesson, kind of. My father changes after this. Used to love his work, would talk about surgery for hours. Now he's quiet, withdrawn. Goes through the motions, but the passion's gone. I asked him about it one day. You okay, Dad? Dad, I think about Robert Matthews every day. His wife, his kids. I could have saved him. Me? It wasn't your fault. Dad, I know, but that doesn't help. I was there in the hospital. Had the skills, the experience. And I wasn't allowed to use them. Because hospital wanted better optics. Me? You did everything you could. Dad, did I? I stayed quiet during the promotion process. Didn't fight back, didn't make noise. Just accepted it and went back to work. Maybe if I'd raised hell, they would have reconsidered. Me? They wouldn't have listened. Dad, we'll never know. December, my father announces his retirement. He's 62, could work another 5 to 8 years easily. But he's done. Can't work for a hospital that makes decisions like this. Can't trust leadership that prioritizes politics over patients. His retirement is a huge loss. Other surgeons try to convince him to stay. Patients write letters begging him not to leave. He's made up his mind. Last day of work is December 31st. Department throws him a retirement party. Feels hollow. Everyone knows why he's really leaving. Not because he's ready to retire. Because the hospital broke his heart. I leave Mercy General 3 months later. Can't work there anymore either. Every day, I'm reminded of what happened. See Dr. Foster in the hallways. She's still working there, still getting paid. While Robert Matthews is dead. And my father's career ended in disillusionment. I get a job at a smaller hospital doing the same work. Credentialing, compliance, making sure doctors are qualified. But now I take it more seriously. Now I know what happens when qualifications are overlooked. When politics trumps patient safety. Someone dies. A family is destroyed. A good doctor's career ends in bitterness. And the people responsible face no consequences. Today, 2 years later, my father is fully retired. Does some consulting, volunteer work. But he's not the same. The spark is gone. He gave 35 years to Mercy General. Saved thousands of lives. And they passed him over for someone with a fraction of his experience. Because they wanted better diversity numbers. I'm not against diversity. Having women in leadership is important. Having diverse perspectives matters. But not at the expense of qualifications. Not when lives are on the line. Dr. Foster was qualified on paper. Met the minimum requirements. But minimum requirements aren't enough. Not for department head of cardiac surgery. Not when you're making life or death decisions. Robert Matthews deserved the best surgeon. The most experienced, most skilled, most proven. He deserved my father. Instead, he got someone the hospital chose for optics. And he died because of it. His kids grew up without a father. His wife became a widow at 56. All because a hospital prioritized appearance over substance. All because admitting we need the most qualified person sounds politically incorrect now. I think about the search committee sometimes. The people who made that decision. Do they think about Robert Matthews? Do they regret it? Or do they tell themselves it was a tragic complication? That could have happened with any surgeon. I think about Dr. Foster too. She's still operating at Mercy General. Back to being a regular surgeon. Adequate, not exceptional. Does she think about him? The patient who died on her operating table? Her first case as department head? I hope she does. I hope it haunts her. Not because I hate her personally, but because a good surgeon should be haunted by their failures. Should use them to become better. And I think about my father, who was punished for being excellent, for being exactly what that job required. Passed over because he didn't check the right demographic boxes. Then forced to watch someone die. Someone he could have saved if only he'd been given the position he earned. Hospital promoted an unqualified candidate over my father. His first operation ended in tragedy, and nobody learned anything. Mercy General still makes diversity a priority in hiring. Still sometimes chooses candidates for reasons beyond qualifications. Maybe they're more careful now. Maybe they make sure the person can actually do the job. But the fundamental problem remains. When you prioritize anything over competence. In fields where competence determines life or death, people die, and the people responsible move on, while families bury their dead. And good doctors retire early. Hearts broken by a system that chose optics over outcomes.